Welcome back, Axis and Allies player, Wars of the World, Series 2, the American Revolution. Take it, Nato.
Hello everybody, this is Nato at the Nest, and this is the first half of 1779 of the American Revolution. And England, they stalemate in the Northeast is still going on, and although they almost took it, they whittled the Americans down to one infantry, and then the British attacked French fleet off the coast of Bordeaux. And that was it for England's. Oh, no, sorry. England also landed in India and took Madras from France. And then America, they finally drove the British out of the Carolinas. So now they've narrowed it back down to a one-front war. And then France attacked the British frigate in 22, or transport in 22, and destroyed it, and also took out the French frigate that was hanging off the New York coast. And then France landed that army in that army is actually in Washington. They just set it off to the side because of lack of room. So that has pretty much secured the American front, because America's no longer in danger of losing Washington with that big French army now sitting there. So that's going to take a lot of pressure off of the Americans, allow them to rebuild their army. And now that I think about it, I've never explained what France's victory objectives are. France's victory objectives is to take New Orleans, the heartlands in the Midwest, and historically there never was any fighting that far west, but I needed to, for gameplay purposes, I needed to give something for France to do, other than the same objectives that America has. That would be redundant for America and France to have the same victory objectives. So I gave what would be the Louisiana Territory, made that an objective for France, mostly just to give something for France to do. Spain's objectives, historically Spain was just concerned about the Caribbean, and Spain joined the war, one for revenge for the 7 Years' War, but mostly because they saw it as an opportunity to grab British holdings in the Caribbean. And at the time the Caribbeans were very lucrative territories, because that's where a lot of the sugar was coming from, and whoever can control the sugar plantations in the Caribbean could make a lot of money off of it. So historically that was Spain's goal and focus, was to steal British Caribbean sugar plantations. So their efforts were focused on the Caribbean, hence why Spain's goal is to capture the Bahamas from the British. And then, so in pursuing that, and part of the strategy I outlined earlier, Spain took its fleet north and destroyed that British fleet that was in 34, and then loaded up its transport and headed for the Bahamas. So the overall strategic situation has changed as England has lost naval dominance, and for the moment, it's looking like it's going to be impossible for England to land reinforcements in North America, and it's going to have to rely solely on the minor factories in Ottawa and New York, and the Hessians that they can place that don't involve factories. So that's a big step forward for the America and its allies, cutting off British reinforcements. And England has now been, and it also forces England to put virtually all of its money towards building ships. So the French and the Spanish don't gain complete naval dominance. They have superiority right now, but the British Navy is still in the fight. But in order to stay that way, they're going to have to dump almost all of its cash into new ships, which helps the Americans immensely. Now that they have local superiority in production now, with England being cut off from landing reinforcements. So that was it for the turn, and we'll come back for the second half of 1779. Hello everybody, this is Nato at the Nest with the second half of 1779 in the American Revolution. And England only made 2 attacks this turn. They attacked Calcutta and everyone missed, so it was inconclusive. And they attacked the northeast and finally took it from the Americans. But the French had already landed, so the advantage that would have gained them was unfortunately already gone. And that was the only action for Britain. France, that army that they landed in Washington, or sorry, no, America goes first. America didn't attack anywhere, they just consolidated their forces in Washington. And then France took their forces from Washington and attacked the northeast, and they managed to get one hit out of it. All of Britain's units missed, so the zone is contested again. And France moved its transport fleet back, started sending it back to France to pick up more troops. And the big naval actions were from Spain. Spain sent its main fleet and destroyed the British fleet off the English coast there, and destroyed England's last transport in the Atlantic. And then 22, there was a British fleet there. Spain sent a second fleet and attacked it. And it was 3 Spanish fleets, or 3 Spanish frigates versus 2 British frigates. The first roll of the dice, the Spanish lost 2 frigates and the British lost 1, so it was a one-on-one fight. But if Spain would have withdrawn, then those 4 French transports would have been vulnerable. So Spain decided to continue the attack to protect their allies' transports, and they succeeded at the cost of their own last remaining ship. The 2 fleets destroyed each other, but it kept those French transports safe. So sacrifice on Spain's part for the greater war effort. And they landed in the Bahamas, and first roll of the dice was inconclusive, everything missed. But the wider implications, as I pan back, as you can see, there are no British ships left in the Atlantic. America, France and Spain, well, mostly France and Spain. America hasn't played any part in the naval action, but France and Spain has managed to secure complete naval dominance in the Atlantic. England has taken its transport and frigate that was in India and started heading it back in an attempt to reinforce the Atlantic, but as of right now, England is completely cut off from its forces in North America, so the Americans and their allies have the initiative right now. They have free reign anywhere on the map, whereas England has been cornered into a box, really. As bad as that sounds, though, if the game were to end right now, England would still win. They have 5 points right now, and the American, French, and Spanish together have 3, so England's not out of the war yet. They're still technically winning, but we still have a couple years left in the war, and that could change and pretty quickly. So we'll come back next turn and a new year for the war, 1780, and we'll see what happens. Hello everybody, this is Nato at the Nest with the first half of the 1780 turn of the American Revolution. And Calcutta has fallen. England attacked again and finally took it. The British attacked the French in the northeast territory, but were unable to drive them off, and it was an even trade, 2 casualties for 2. And that was all England did. It put some more frigates down and a transport. America didn't attack again. They just reinforced the French in the northeast. The American-French strategy right now is to let the French do the brunt of the fighting, and in the northeast, and allow the Americans to build up their forces, build up a strong army. So then, because France and Spain are going to drop out of the war, and what was it, 17? Yeah, France and Spain are going to drop out of the war in 1782. So there's going to be, 4 more turns after that. America's going to be on its own. So the strategy is France is going to do the brunt of the fighting on land for the Americans until they drop out. So allow America to spend that time just building up a strong army to be able to face the British on their own when the time comes. France didn't attack anything. France just moved its transports down to Spain and moved its forces into Spain to cut down the distance between Europe and the Atlantic. Cut down the travel time to get more forces to North America far quicker than if they had to go all the way to France. And Spain bought 2 more transports and moved the bulk of its army to the coast. So Spain is getting ready to load up its army and send it somewhere to North America to help out its French and American allies. And that was it. And the Spanish fleet sailed into the channel and wiped out the British ships that they had just purchased to make sure that the Allies have the naval dominance to secure the win, because right now it's still... and Spain took the Bahamas. So the victory points are sitting at 5 points for the British and 3 points for the Allies. So it's very critical that the Allies keep that naval dominance if they're going to have a chance of winning this thing, too. So we'll come back the second half of 1780 and see where all these transports are going.